Om. अनंत संसार समुद्रतार नौकायिताभ्यां गुरुभक्तिदाभ्यां वैराग्य साम्राज्यद पूजनाभ्यां नमो नमः श्री गुरुपादुकाभ्यां नमो नमः श्री गुरुपादुकाभ्यां श्री विद्या शिववामभागनिलया ह्रीङ्कार मन्त्रोज्ज्वला श्रीचक्राङ्कित बिन्दुमध्यवसति श्रीमत् सभानायिका श्रीमत् षण्मुख विघ्नराजजननी श्रीमत् जगन्मोहिनी मीनाक्षीं प्रणतोऽस्मि सन्ततमहम् कारुण्यवारानिधिम् सिन्दूरारुण विग्रहां त्रिनयना माणिक्यमौलिस्फुरा तारानायक शेखरा स्मितमुखी आपीनवक्षोरुहा पाणिभ्यामलिपूर्ण रत्नचषकम् रक्तोत्पलं बिभ्रति सौम्यां रत्नघटस्थरक्तचरणा ध्यायेत् पराम् अंबिका। बोलो जगन माता की जय। All glories to my loving Father, my Master, my Guru. With whose grace this essence of the Divine Mother is flowing through this instrument. Narayani Namostute. Narayani Namostute. Today's satsang is special because it is the beginning. It is the beginning of a new journey for all of us. Technically, it may seem like the end of Tripura Rahasya, but it is truly today marks the beginning. May 1st, today marks the beginning of a new journey for all of us. Because within us we are holding this essence as knowledge. Whether you are paying attention or not, it has already entered in your antashkaran. In your heart, it has already entered. in the form of seed, a seed. This seed needs to be watered with devotion, pure devotion, nishkama bhakti, seeking only the Divine Mother, seeking only the truth. And that water alone, which is the ardrata, ardra is moist, like the air is moistened with humidity. Similarly, that ardrata is devotion. We need that to keep watering the seed, because whether you have listened with attention or not is a secondary issue. Adi Guru Shankaracharya starts Saundarya Lahari with Shiva Shaktya Yukto Yadi Bhavati Shakta Prabhavitum न चेदेवं देवो न खलु कुशलः स्पन्दितुमपि अतस्त्वामाराध्यां हरिहरविरिञ्चादिभिरपि प्रणन्तुं स्तोतुं वा कथमकृतपुण्यप्रभवति. O Divine Mother, you are so great that even Lord Shiva is Shava without you. He has no existence without you. All the gods, all the Brahmas, all the Vishnus, all the Rudras of all the entire creation bow down to you to sing your glories, to listen about you, to listen to your essence. Kathamakrita punya prabhavati. Without punyas, without that seed, how can one even listen to it? How can even one say Jagannatha Pahimam without having your grace? So whether we listen to Tripura Rahasya with attention, without attention, doesn't matter. What matters is her grace has already chosen the listener. In the seed form, it's already in there. Depending upon your intensity of wanting the Divine Mother, depending upon the intensity of having only the Divine Mother and nothing else, that seed will either grow or remain as is. But the seed has been sowed, which is why today marks the beginning. It is the beginning of the spiritual journey, because the seed has been sowed by the grace of the Divine Mother, by the grace of our loving Father. The seed has been sowed. So do not feel sad that it is the end of Tripura Rahasya. It's not. It's the beginning of your journey towards the Divine Mother. Nothing more is needed. No more knowledge is needed. You hold everything within you. The Master has given it all. You just need to water it with your devotion. Again, in today's chapter, Dattatreya will go over the entire thing again. You've heard it. You've heard it all. There is nothing new he's going to introduce. But if you can walk away, if you can walk away with this satsang, so happy, so glad that the seed has been sowed. It's just a matter of time now. प्यार ने जहां पे रखा है, झूम के कदम एक बार, वहीं से खुला है हर रास्ता वहीं से गिरी है दीवार. Now the seed has been sowed. Now begins your journey. How should you walk towards the Divine Mother? How will you walk towards the Divine Mother? Dancing in joy. How will you walk towards your truth? Today the seed has been sowed, the mud has been covered over it, and it's already moist. With what joy will you walk around? Now your journey has started. You're walking towards the Divine Mother. Today you will begin that journey. It's only your intensity, your devotion, your desire for only having her. That transcendental desire, Kamakshi Kamadayini, that desire alone will set you free of all your vikaras. The mind that is full of vikaras will be completely, because vikaras are nothing but darkness of ignorance, and the desire to have the Divine Mother, the desire for the love of Divine Mother, for the grace of the Divine Mother, that desire itself is so pure. It carries light of itself. It will light up your mind. And that alone can destroy all vikaras, all obstacles, all hurdles, everything that you can think of. It's it's the highest desire. That's why her name is Kamakshi Kamadayini. She's the one that gives that desire. So with this beautiful mindset that yes, today marks the beginning of my journey towards the Divine Mother. All I want is my mother. With that intensity, with that devotion, with that desire as your guiding light in your life, walk the path. How? With love. Drench your whole being in love. Let the very fabric of your being become love. So we will now do the summary of the scripture. Last session, we discussed how finally the Brahma Rakshas is freed of the curse that was put on him. And he assumes the form back of a Brahmin. And then there is certain questions he asks Hemangad, who is the prince, the younger prince, who's a Jnani. He poses certain questions to Hemangad. And after getting those answers, he becomes a liberated soul. So Parshuram Ji Maharaj is now curious. What are those questions? Tell me. So he says, I'm curious. It could not have been a mere debate. Tell me, what was that dialogue like? Parshuram Dattatreya Ji Maharaj answers, that dialogue was profound and deep. I'll tell you. And here are the questions, the way they ask. So this is the Brahmin asking the prince. I want to ask you something. Can you explain? In the beginning, I received this knowledge from the sage Ashtavakra. After hearing you, I now understand how to attain the highest state of knowledge. So his question is, how can a person who has known what ought to be known continue interacting with the world? So his question is, before realization, chop wood, fetch water. So his assumption is, before realization, you've been working in the world out of your own desires, out of your own ignorance. After realization, will you continue working? How can you continue working? How can light and darkness coexist? Because he's saying all the actions in the world are done because we have desires. So then how can a realized master perform actions in the world? Please explain. So then the prince says, your confusion is not yet completely removed. How can the knowledge identical with one's self be negated by worldly activity? Because the Brahman is coming from a standpoint saying we do actions out of ignorance. Because he is now thinking he's not the doer, which means no action needs to be done. Okay, then I attain the state of self-realization, and then I'm still acting. What does that mean? I'm still a doer? Wait a second, how can darkness and light coexist? So then the prince is saying to think that the actions are different from the self, or to think that worldly activity is going to be negated once you self-realize, it means you haven't yet gotten the crux of it. He's saying if worldly activity is negated by knowledge, then waking state is no different than a dream. It's like, you do so much stuff in the dream, you wake up, there is no stuff. There is no remnants of whatever you did. So he's saying worldly activity has its basis in knowledge. And this is what we discussed last session. One state of being is you're just doing. You're the doer, you're doing actions. And then you take a pause and then you enter a state of being. And then from that state of being, doing is happening. So doing is being completely colored by being. So really, it's just happening through an instrument. There is no sense of doing because there's no sense of ego. It's like the river going towards the ocean, keeps proclaiming, I'm going towards the ocean, I'm going towards the ocean, I'm going towards the ocean. Once it is in the ocean, there is no more going towards the ocean and there is no more river left. It's a state of being. There is no more. The doing is happening. Understand, worldly activities will happen, but they happen from a state of being. When one becomes desireless and knows Atman, then the individual attains freedom from all bondage and enjoys happiness. Therefore, O Brahman, your question is invalidated by wise men. The Brahmin says, that's true. I have arrived at the same conclusion. Pure consciousness is pure knowledge. Then he says, after attaining enlightenment and experiencing pure consciousness, if someone still has desires, he will still be deluded. Exactly the way a rope can be mistaken for a snake. So you see, once you know that this rope is not a snake, there is no power in the world that can delude you back into saying, hey, that's a snake out there. You'll be like, no, you won't even answer because you know experientially that rope is not a snake. The prince replied to the Brahmin, Brahmin, listen, you do not know how to distinguish confusion from non-confusion. Those who know the sky is colorless still perceive it as blue and use the word, the sky is blue. The fact that they see and speak this way does not mean they have illusion about the color of the sky. It's a great example. You see, we all know the sky is colorless. It appears blue. We continuously don't say, oh, the sky is colorless, it appears blue. Look at the blue sky. We don't have to it's an understood. It's like at the foreground, we're saying the sky is blue. But in the background, we know the sky is colorless. We don't have to keep telling it. To the ignorant, it's a confusion. Whereas to the knower of the truth, it's not. A realized person's knowledge cannot be the source of bondage any more than a dead snake can bite. There is certainly a difference between worldly interactions and behaviors of a jnani and an ignorant person. The jnani's interactions with the world are like images in a mirror. Tavadeva, as much as is needed, and the involvement is also as much as is needed. An ignorant person, you see, a jnani uses his persona, which is his personality, which is his body, which is his likes and dislikes. He uses his persona to engage in the world. But he, at the background, he knows he is that. An ignorant person engages in the world as the persona. He gets entangled in the persona. The jnani uses the persona as an instrument, as a means of engaging in the world. An ignorant person engages in the world as the persona. That's the difference. In case of a jnani, the knowledge related to his dealings with the world is valid, while in the case of an ignorant, it's otherwise. All of the jnani's activities are based on knowledge, not memory. All of the ignorant person's actions are based on memory because the mind is active. When the mind is active, actions are happening through the mind. So they're all memory based. For a jnani, the mind is empty, the actions are happening from a state of being. That state of being is pure consciousness. That pure consciousness is pure knowledge. So from knowledge, the actions are happening. So the actions themselves are knowledge too. Because jnanis are constantly aware that all actions and interactions with the world are like images reflecting in a mirror. They are free from ignorance. Therefore, as long as the karmas and other subtle impressions are not destroyed, interaction with the world continues. The moment all karmas are exhausted, there exists only pure consciousness. So you see here, the prince, Dattatraji, through the story, through the prince, is telling us how should we perform actions. See, at the foreground, actions are happening. But in the background, there is this flowing awareness of the reality, of the truth, of the pure consciousness, of the Divine Mother. At the foreground, actions are happening. You're not doing the actions. The actions are happening through the personality, through the persona, through this instrument. The instrument is being used, like the puppet show. The puppet is being used by the puppeteer to put up a show. The puppet is not doing the show. The puppet is in the hands of the divine, and the show is just happening. So continuously, if we keep centering ourselves before every activity, come back to that state of being, perform actions. Come back to the state of being, perform actions. Till the state of being becomes our new default. Hearing this, the Brahmin asked the prince, "O prince, how can actions possibly be performed by a jnani? How is a jnani able to perform actions when the fire of knowledge burns all karmas?" He's still stuck at the actions. The prince replies, "Brahmin, there are three kinds of karmas: apakva, pakva, and hatodita. Apakva are unripe karmas. Pakva are ripe karmas. Hatodita is destroyed before they germinate. And this is what is explained in Lalita Sahasranam in the way Bhandasur was killed. It says that at the very end, Kameshwarastra nirdagdha sabhandasura shunyaka. When she finally used Kameshwarastra, Kameshwar Astra is the arrow or the weapon that destroys all desires. Kameshwarastra nirdagdha sa bhandasura shunyaka. Bhandasur and Sir is his wives who were pregnant. His wives with pregnant wives, small kids, all the kids, they were all destroyed. What does that mean? Hatodit is they're destroyed before they germinate. Apakwa is unripe. That's the pregnant wife. The small kids, they're all karmas. All these karmas make up the Shunyak Nagari. So Kameshwarastra Nirdagdha Sabhandasura Shunyaka. Bhandasur along with Sir is his parivar. His wives, who were at various stages in pregnancy, the small kids, they were all destroyed, which represent karmas. For jnanis, all karmas are destroyed except for the ripe ones. The ripe ones are already ripe. And whatever the ripe ones are, they continue performing. Providence or nature or niyati has appointed time as the ripener. The karmas that are ripe are called pakva, apakva karma, are called pakva karmas. Apakva karmas are not ripe. The karmas that are performed after self-realization are not binding. And this is what we discussed last time. All the actions happening from a state of doing are binding. Because you are the doer. Because you are the doer, you have to take the fruits. Actions happening from a state of being are quoted by the being, a state of being. They're not binding. And that's what Ramakrishna Paramahansa talks about in the gospel. He says, when you are about to cut jackfruit, put some oil on your hands, and then you get into cutting that jackfruit. So the sticky sap won't get on your hands. That oil, he calls it divine love. That oil here is being called the state of being. That oil is being centered, whatever you name it, performing actions. So remember, at the foreground, actions are happening. In the background, you are established in a state of being. From a state of being, coated by the oil, actions are happening. There is no doer. Hence, there are no karmas. They're not binding. Hence, that is a state of non-doing. Ripe karmas are also called prarabdha karmas. They are like arrows already sent towards the target. They keep moving towards their target until the force impelling them is exhausted. Knowing this, the jnanis continue to perform actions. The experience of worldly phenomena continues for the jnani because of his resulting karma, but his response depends on the degree of his knowledge. The jnani still undergoes the results of his past actions. His reaction to them depends on his degree of realization. So you see, the jnanis continue to perform actions depending upon whatever karma is ripened, they'll continue to perform. For the lowest, here the prince talks about the various levels. This is for the lowest level jnani. The result of karma is instant and very clear. For the second level, karmic fruits are insignificant. The highest jnani, however, remains unaffected by the fruits of his karma. So the lowest level of jnani, the result of karma is instant and clear. Second level, karmic fruits are insignificant. Highest level, unaffected by the fruits of the action. That is why he says the highest jnanis are said to be free from bondage of karma. We want to, before we try to remember, Dattatreya said, I'm telling you all these things about jnanis, not so that you go around saying, oh, he's affected by his karma, he's not a jnani. Or he's second level, I think. Oh, he looks like a first level, he's the highest. It is for self-analysis. We all experience ripened karma. How we take it. How are we to take it? The arrows that have been released, and that's what Swami talks about it. A mailman is coming to deliver your mail. It could either be a money order or it could be a bill. If it's a money order, you will get money. Then you are happy. You will even give a little tip to the mailman. If it's a bill, you'll be upset at the mailman. How dare you bring this mail to me? It is that ignorant, he says. All people around you, they're all delivery people. They're all mailmen, mailwomen too. Some people will come and bring joy in your life because you got a money order. Some people will come and bring you a bill saying, you got to pay, buddy, you've got a karmic debt to settle. I'm just delivering your mail. You got to pay. And there you are, beating up the mailman. You are such a bad person. You are this, you are that, label this, that. So Swami says, all of this is ripened karma. It is just being delivered to us. An understanding of this brings about prasada buddhi. Sri Jagan Matra Prasada Buddhi. And in one of the discourses, I heard how when you seek refuge of Paramatma, he says, bring in all the ripened karma. Chalo, fatafat, let's finish it all off. Doesn't mean you will be surrounded by sorrows. He will bring it in a point that you won't even know that, wait a second, I went through something so deep. You won't even know because the intensity with which you experience will be so low. If you are destined to get into an accident and lose a leg, maybe that karma you will experience as a bump as you're trying to get off the sofa and you hit the end of the table. And you're like, ouch. To you, you're like, it's just nothing. But you don't know that the Divine Mother, out of her grace, has just taken away such a load. You still experienced it, but it was just a minor little thing. Or maybe you'll have a dream that you met with an accident, you lost both your legs. You will go through the sorrow, you will feel the pain, and then you'll wake up, oh my God, it was just a dream. You went through that karma. Karma is nothing but an experience. You went through that experience. It's done. That rough experience, you went through it. Such is the grace of the Divine Mother. So how we take our prarabdha karma? You might think, oh my God, this is such a bad thing happening. No, for a fact, it could be 100,000 times worse. It is coming to you in the least possible intensity. Because now you're at the refuge of the Divine Mother. She cares about her children so much. How can she make her children suffer? If my son needs a lesson and I need to be firm with him, I'm not going to pick up a stick and, beat him badly. I'm a mother. I want to give him the lesson. At the same time, I want to be gentle about it. I'll be like, okay, so today you get to miss your TV time. That's your punishment. No, mama, don't do it. No, beta. That's your punishment. That's the consequence of your action. Imagine Divine Mother. Poor thing, she has nothing but compassion. She has set these laws in place. And then here is her son, her child, crying to her. You think she'll take a stick and beat the hell out of you? She'll be like, okay, I know you did this. Let me give you a consequence. So no matter how bad the situation in life is, know to remind yourself it could be 100,000 times worse. what I'm facing is just a little bit. It has been brought down to such a small degree. It's okay. I will take it, Mother. Jagannatru Prasada Buddhi. I will gracefully accept this ripened karma. Prior to the performance of an action, the ignorant anticipate the entire sequence and consequence. Don't we do that? That's scheming and planning. Okay, I'm going to first do this, and then this will happen, and then when he says this, I will say that. When that will happen, that's the way an ignorant person performs. In a state of being, there's no scheming, there's no calculation, there's no planning. You just see what opens up, you respond. You see what opens up, you respond. There is no charting out, oh my God, this is how it's going to go. That is how they bind themselves with the strands of karma. The lowest level jnani makes an effort to contemplate the self. So his preoccupation with the results of his action is broken from time to time. This is exactly what he's talking about, being centered. Many, many times. Before you take up a new task, center yourself. Coat your hands with that oil of non-doing. Perform actions so it doesn't bind you anymore. So the lowest level jnani makes an effort to contemplate the self. So his preoccupation with the results of his action is broken from time to time. For this reason, the results of his karma are not very powerful, because he is not performing all his actions in a state of doing. There are intermittent states of being. Hence, he is not bound by all of it. Hence, the results of his karma are not very powerful. The middle level jnani experiences the results of his ripe karma like a person in deep sleep experiences a mosquito bite. The discomfort is minimal. Who is the middle level jnani? Who is the middle level jnani? A middle level jnani is one who is more established. He practices more to be in a state of being. Such a person experiences the ripened karma minimal discomfort. And the highest level, absolutely nothing. He has no effect. Even the fruits of his actions are nothing at all. They are burnt by the fire of knowledge. For him, those karmas lose their binding power. Like an actor performing in a drama who plays his role without being affected by the sorrow or delight he expresses on the stage, the highest jnani remains unaffected by even the full effect of his right karma. Therefore, his karmic fruit is as illusory as the horn of a rabbit. Rabbits don't have horns. But if you say, oh, my ripened karma is like the horn of a rabbit, they're not even existent. That's a state of a highest jnani who is completely, by practice, rigorous practice, has established himself in the state of being. Remember, in the foreground, action happens. In the background, you're established. You're established in a state of being. You're centered. Your mind is not chit, 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 chit constantly. What about this? What about that? You're like emptying yourself in a state of being, breathing out, centering yourself. The ignorant do not have pure knowledge of Atman. Okay, let's not talk too much about ignorant people. The lowest level of jnanis have realized the self and have also understood the unreality of the external world, but they lack sufficient practice. See, it all boils down to practice, which is why today marks the beginning. It's not the end of Tripura Rahasya, it's the beginning of Abhyasatishaya Jnata, rigorous practice of centering yourself. That is why on and off they think the world is real. On and off, you see. Then again, knowledge comes forward and dispels the darkness of ignorance. Thus, sanskaras and knowledge mingle and make them reap the fruits of action. Knowledge mingled with sanskaras has quite different fruits and they're not equally effective. These obstacles cannot obstruct the desire for attaining the truth. You see, the guiding light for a sadhak is the burning desire to attain the truth. The guiding light for a devotee is the desire to attain the Isht. That guides everything. If Divine Mother is your gantavya, is your goal, then in the foreground, work is happening. In the background, you're trying to connect with the Divine Mother. In which way? It's up to you. You can do japa. You can keep thinking of her. It's up to you. It's like, effortlessly a lover. Truly, the earthly love that we see, a lover is going to college, doing this, doing that, talking to people. In the background, he or she is in love. In the second level jnani, the truth is never forgotten and false knowledge vanishes. He performs his actions in the world while maintaining his awareness. This state is the state of second level of adept. He says, now I'll tell you about seekers. When a seeker starts treading the path of Atman, his awareness begins to strengthen. This awareness is completely strengthened. He can never forget. When this awareness is completely strengthened, he can never forget his true nature. And that's the practice, because we are all habitually situated in actions. What is being said by the princess, oh Brahmin, actions will keep happening. But your awareness that's flowing in the back like a calm river, let that awareness, let that river of awareness flow towards your Isht, flow towards truth, flow in the state of being, flow in truth. O Brahmin, seen from the standpoint of a completely realized one, there is no difference between samadhi and the activities of the world. One who has attained samadhi is always aware of the truth, no matter what action is happening. Because this is our truth. This happens every day. We are working, but the mind is thinking something else. Isn't that true? You could be right here sitting listening, but the mind is somewhere else, which means it's possible for you to have two streams going on. The action that you're performing is listening, but in the background, something else is happening. So this is possible, that you're doing actions, but in the background, you're aware of the presence of the Divine Mother. You're aware. And that, he says, is samadhi. The second level of aspirant who has attained samadhi is sometimes not aware of his true self. When he encounters false knowledge, he becomes weaker. But one who is at the highest level of jnanis remains tranquil at all times because his awareness is firmly established. Sthita prajnasya ka bhasha samadhistasya keshavaha sthitadihi kim prabhashi kim asita sthitadihi kim prabhasheta kim asita vrajeta kim. Krishna, you're talking about establishing your awareness in the self and performing actions. I don't understand, Krishna. How does such a person talk? How does such a person sit? Prajahati yada kaman sarvan partha manogatam. The desire to perform actions is gone. He becomes desireless, which means established completely in a non-doing state. In the background, there is this flow of consciousness in the truth, towards the truth, in the Isht. In the foreground, actions are happening. O Brahman, listen. Actually, for both middle and highest level jnanis, the effects of karmas are not very significant because these jnanis have attained perfection. They see nothing except the self. When all their karmas are burnt by the fire of knowledge, then no karma remains to be performed. Therefore, all karmas of the highest level jnanis are exhausted. After Prince Hemangad explained this, the Brahmin's doubt was dispelled and he was illumined within. Because you see, we all perform actions. That is why the compassionate, merciful Divine Mother has ended or stopped the preaching at action, saying, how should you perform actions? I don't want you all to quit your worldly duties and say mother, mother, mother all day. While performing actions, can you say mother, mother, mother within? Can you be situated in my presence within? That's all I'm asking. Hearing this, Parshuram asked Dattatreya, O Gurudev, I heard these wise words from your mouth. My doubts are dispelled, and at last I comprehend the knowledge of the absolute reality. And then he says, O Gurudev, please summarize everything one more time, that I can keep the essence intact in my heart. So let us all wake up one more time, because this is one more time the compassionate master will now describe the essence. Parshuram, listen. I will give you the essence. The Supreme Mother of the universe is pure consciousness. Her being is the experience of pure I amness. Her very being is the presence, is the experience of pure I amness. Through her power of sovereignty, she lets the impossible becomes possible, and thus allows this universe to appear within herself like images in a mirror. Listen to how she manifests the universe. So he's saying, the I am feeling that's within you, that's her very being. That's the experience of the Divine Mother. That is pure consciousness, that is pure knowledge. From that I am, like we saw, the I am, the power of the self, the illumination of the self, like the Deepak and the Jyoti, like the lamp and the light of the lamp. The light of the lamp permeates the mind. It manifests as the mind, as the senses, as the objects. It is in fact one continuum, one continuous existence. Because of her essential experience of pure I amness, pure consciousness is all pervading. She lets herself appear to be twofold. Because remember, her first manifestation is the mind. Mind is nothing but twofold. Everything is, all dualities are experienced in the mind. One aspect of her appears as I amness, the I-ness, while the other experience is devoid of the sense of self and appears as matter. You see, I is one aspect. The other aspect is matter. I have a mind. I have the senses. I have a body. I see the objects. It's all matter. So one aspect of her is I. The other aspect is the matter. Mind is also matter. Whatever food you consume, the sukshmati sukshma, subtlest aspect of that becomes your mind. In the discourse called Bhojan, Swami talks about the mind, how it is subtler than the subtlest aspect of the food we eat through our senses, becomes the mind, which is nothing but matter. Although the formless, the absolute, self-existent, unmanifest, sees that the material part is something separate from himself, he still experiences it as the self. So, although it appears, it's again going back to the example of the sky. Although I know sky is colorless, I say, oh, the sky is blue. But in the background, I know the sky is colorless. And here he talks about the I-ness is Sadashiv and how through his own Swatantra Shakti, which is willpower, he desires to manifest the world and how the entire world is created as the body, and then starts believing that I am this. This is, remember, we talked about how there is, Mother revealed that it's a play that I play. That first, I and the matter. Then the matter becomes the body, and then I start believing, oh, I'm the body, I'm the body. Then I find a guru. Then I become a seeker. Then I again discover my true nature. And then I again become complete. This is just my play that I play. During his experimentation, Sadashiv becomes Ishwar. And which uses ego as an instrument called Ishvara. You see, Sadashiv becomes Ishwar when endowed with ego. So the aham, the ego that we think is so bad, that aham is Brahmasmi, that belongs. So the same I, which is the Divine Mother, the matter then says, oh, I am this, I am this, I am this, I'm the body. So the ego is used as an instrument to create, preserve, and sustain, and to annihilate, to create, preserve, and annihilate. This is Brahma, Vishnu, Rudra. Because that I, which is why we say Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, which is the I. Guru is Sakshat Parabrahma. And Guru alone is Brahma, Vishnu, and Rudra. He is the creator, he is the preserver, he is the destroyer. The I, if there is no I, there is no creation, there is no preservation, there is no annihilation. And that I is my Guru, manifested in front of me in a form, in a persona. Oh Parshuram, it is like the image in a mirror. Nothing is real. Pure consciousness is always experiencing her perfect I awareness. It is immovable, but because of the ego, it seems as though it moves. Oh Parshuram, you, when he says you, the real you, oh Parshuram, you, the real you, pervade your whole body and call it I. Whereas, show me one place around you where you are not. The sun and the light of the sun. There is no place that the light of the sun is not. There is no place where your light is not. There is nothing except for your own self. O Parshuram, you pervade your whole body and call it I. Aware of your different senses and limbs and actions, through them, you feel you are the doer. This is what we talked about, the difference between jnanis and ignorant people. A jnani uses his persona, his body as an instrument for actions to happen. An ignorant person performs the actions as the body. Likewise, pure consciousness is the center of pure I-amness. Pure consciousness, which is also the foundation of ego-centered awareness, is seen as the cause of illumination. You cannot experience smell, taste, touch, sense objects while maintaining awareness of pure I. You can experience them only by identifying yourself with the senses. And then, he talks about Sadashiv, Rudra, Brahma, and You can always go back and read it all. Swami likes to keep it simple. Hence, he just wants us to know one thing. There is I, and then there is matter. Matter is permeated by I. But the duality that I and matter is also the power of the Divine Mother. Through her supreme power, she seems to appear like the images in the mirror. The universe is no more different from her than a reflection from a mirror. You and I and all perceivers are actually pure consciousness, as long as we do not identify ourselves with external objects. The state of freedom is pure consciousness, the absolute state. It is full of everlasting bliss. The universe appears in the self, just as a clay pot appears in clay, ornaments in gold, and statues in rock. You see, gold is used to make different ornaments, but at the end of the day, it's all gold. Similarly, he's saying the entire universe is made up of self. It's nothing but the self. It may appear differently in different names and forms, but just like the gold in all the gold jewelry is nothing but gold. Similarly, this world of names and forms is nothing but the self, the light of the self, or Her Majesty, the Divine Mother. By negation of duality and the idea that it does not exist, there is only self existent consciousness which witnesses both. So, this is how you negate duality. The idea that, oh, this exists, that exists, continuously keep reminding yourself, establishing ourselves in the state of being. That is what is needed. This is perfect knowledge because it is not opposed by any opposing concept. There is no bondage, there is no liberation. There is no aspirant, and there is no way of enlightenment. There is only one absolute self-element power of powers. She is seen as ignorance, knowledge, bondage, freedom, and the way of freedom. O Parshuram, it is essential to know this. There is nothing else to be known. Vidya Swarupin. She is Vidya and she is Avidya. There is no guru, there is no aspirant. There is no way of enlightenment. It's all one continuous existence. In this way, from beginning to end, I have systematically imparted the knowledge to you. By hearing this once, knowledge is strengthened. But those who are not very sharp, how will they grasp it even by listening to it one or two or three times? This scripture gives one freedom from all sins and leads to a state of tranquility. It is a source of knowledge. It removes all impurities. It purifies the mind. If it is contemplated upon, it gives freedom from the bondage of ignorance. If one contemplates that which is self-existent Atman with a purified mind, he attains moksha. Otherwise, it is all bondage. That bestower of knowledge is called Tripura. So let us put our hands together. Divine Mother, we express our deepest gratitude for blessing us with this opportunity to know a little bit about you. We need a lot of your blessings and grace so that we can nurture the seed that you have sown in our hearts. Bless us with pure devotion unto thee. Bless us so we may only have one transcendental desire, to have you, to have your grace, to have your refuge. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hari Om Tat Sat. Narayani Namostute. Narayani Namostute. Narayani Namostute. If anyone has anything to add to today's session, please unmute yourself. Go ahead, Mansi. I'm going to mute myself. Mansi, we cannot hear you. You still here?
Am I audible now?
Yes, we can hear you now. Go ahead.
Okay. So this one line here, which says, the prince replied, Brahmin, there are three kinds of karmas, apakva, pakva, and hatodita. We all know what is ripe and unripe, and hatodita, the one which is destroyed before they germinate. For jnanis, all karmas are destroyed except for the ripe ones. The ripe one, of course, is your prarabdha karma, which even if it comes forth in front, if you are in the shelter, if you are in the refuge of a divine master, this prarabdha also becomes, as is written further in Tripura, the same chapter, it becomes just like, mosquito biting you in deep sleep. I was reading Swami's post on Wes.me, and he has said something so beautiful. That's what I wanted to share. I could have expounded on the word of certain scriptures to address the question of, whether how the laws of karmas apply. This is in relation to that. And he says, I could have offered you a convincing theory, a lofty philosophical, logical explanation, some fitting thesis on the law of karma, but that is not the way of Swami. I am committed to truth above everything else. I would rather have you ask right questions through self-inquiry than accept my answers through secondary analysis. The act of turning inwards is the act of breaking free of layers of conditioning. It is the science of understanding one's true nature, experiencing your primordial state. It helps you transcend the labels. Your realization is going to come from contemplation and not conditioning, reflections and not rituals, practice and not preaching. Whether you are theory or an artist, be at peace, be yourself, be fearless. Understanding without experience is dry, and experience without understanding is blind. Go on, discover your own truth. That alone will set you free. Peace, Swami. So why I read this was, no matter what mm, karmic entanglements and baggages we have been carrying for lifetimes, ripe or unripe, Once you are in the refuge of a illumined sun, the light of that sun is such that this darkness doesn't crop up at all because the light is so much. If I were to give an example, it is something like, it's a short story. Time permits, I will try and just quickly tell you. There was this particular person, very very poor, and would live in one side of a end of a village with his wife and hardly anything to eat at home. And once a saint came to their house at night, and those were the time and culture when if a saint comes, you respect him, you offer him whatever you can, you just don't shoo them away. Um, so a saint came, and though this couple was very poor, they offered him a space in their little hut, whatever they could. Whatever little his wife had cooked, it was barely some handful of rice and some salt. He offered it to him, and he took care of the saint. Next day morning, before leaving, the saint said, I'm very happy with your service, and I give you a horse to be with you. Now, this is a poor man. He says, I am so poor, I can't even feed myself and my wife, and how am I going to even look after the horse? The saint says, you just keep it. And if the need be, you may sell the horse. So and the saint goes away. This Now such was the grace with the blessing of the saint who had come as a master in the life of this couple, that the the sprout of kindness had them serve him, and this same very sprout of kindness still existed within them. So they knew that they can't feed this horse. So he takes him to the market, sells him off with whatever money he has. Now, what he does is he keeps a little of that money to feed himself, and with the rest of the money, he starts, he makes a little chabutra around a tree next to his house and starts. He was a Brahmin, so he starts teaching these kids from uh, the village, outside the village. And he doesn't demand any money. He's just, he just does it for the good, because there wasn't any school in that village. Now, when people see the good people and the other people who are well off in the village, they see him doing this. You see, this poor man is doing so much. Um, the the rich and affluent man of the village, he goes and hands him over another two horses. He said, why not? Oh man, two more horses. Now what do I do with them? I cannot keep them. I can't feed them. He again goes to the market, sells them. And then he has some more money. He builds a little, extended hut. He starts teaching more children. Now, seeing this generosity from him, more people, somebody brings in rice, somebody brings in whatever, something to eat. And this man who had nothing, and his product was such that he was meant to lurk in poverty for this birth. And the man who had come as a saint had seen all of this. Now, because he was under his refuge, the blessing was such that this went on for quite some time, and he kept on getting horses, he kept on selling horses. And the day came when, it became a big, huge school in the village, with a lot of children studying. And since this man would never ever take money, people would just, out of gratitude, pour in whatever, they could in kind to him. And in the same way, more horses, more cattle kept coming, and he would never keep these horses. He would always sell them, use the money again for whatever good he could. So this went on for quite some time. And then one day the saint reappears, and he says to him, you were destined to only have one sack of rice for this lifetime. And your prarabdha was such that seva of some 100 horses was written in your prarabdha. Only then you would be freed from this karma. You would have to serve these horses. But the kindness that he had and the shade of the master that he got from his kind act was such that in this very lifetime he served 100 horses, and he went past the prarabdha of living in abject poverty with just one sackful of rice to his account. So that is what grace of a master does. When the reason I narrated the story was, when you read such things, you say, oh, okay, maybe these things happen, maybe they do not happen. Will it happen with me? So when you are crowded and loaded with adversities, in the midst of adversities, you know that there is somebody holding your hand, there's a shelter over your head, the umbrella of your guru, the strength of your master, and it is all flowing from Divine Mother Tripura. So the Siddha masters have said that karm ya to tumko bhogega, या तुम उसको पार कर लो साधना के माध्यम से. Now, sadhana does not mean that you sit and do some ritual, and this is what Swami is saying. It is not ritual. It is not empty blind experience. It is knowledge which makes the experience wet, and it is contemplation, which is the sadhana. It is self-inquiry, which is the knowledge. And this knowledge is the one which keeps watering the seed that is sown by the master. So of course, when Mahakali was invoked, and she took the form of Mahakali, Parvati transcended and became Kali. Mahadev said, "Ye ant nahi hai, ye arambh hai." So if you're being annihilated of all that has been holding you in darkness, know that it is the beginning to immense light, the light of the Master, the light of Tripura. And that's what I wanted to add to this.
Thank you so much, Mansi. So does anyone have anything else to say? Any questions or anything? You can also use the texting to message. Yes, go ahead, Shanta. You can unmute yourself, I'm pretty sure, yeah? You can unmute yourself, Shanta.
Can you hear me, Anu?
We can hear you, my love. Go ahead.
Okay. Now, I just had a question. I wanted to know, when we meet our master, like for us, Swamiji, do we burn our karmas faster when we meet a real master?
My answer would be, don't worry about it. What the master does at the level he operates, he alone knows. Our job is to surrender and keep doing our practices to the best of our abilities. His abilities, what he can do, there are no limits. So I would say, don't worry about it. That's just what I would say if someone else has anything else.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right. So on that note, we will end the recording first. Narayani Namostute.